Hey everybody, I'm Tom Vasel. Welcome to Week in Review. This is a series of videos that we do once a week where we go back and give you quick summaries of everything we did in the past week. And then if you want to see the full review, we have links in the description below. Let's get started.
Hey everybody, I'm Zee Garcia. Here's what I did last week. So I did another Unsung Gems for the letter M. Some games maybe you didn't get a chance to check out when they first came out. They passed you by. Maybe this is another chance to discover them. I also did a reaction video to a certain top 10 that went up, apparently saying that I was wrong about something. I'm not actually quite sure what happened, but I reacted to that. And then I reviewed two games. I reviewed Doodle Dash, which I rate a 7 out of 10. This is a, doodling party-type game in which everybody is quickly drawing something and then grabbing something from the center of the table, and one player guesses, everybody laughs. It's good, it's fun. Mechanically, and this is silly to complain about mechanisms in a party game, but there's one part where somebody has to roll a die till something happens. I didn't love that part so much, but everything else is a fun party game. And then I reviewed Vagrants Song, which I rate an 8.5 out of 10. I really like this one. Fantastic theme in this game of you being a wandering character going on this trip on a ghostly train. It's cooperative. You have a bunch of sort of scenarios. You're battling these haints, as the game calls them. These are, it's an old-timey word for like a ghost. You're upgrading yourself. It's gorgeous. It's so interesting. Yeah, the rule book and the rules in general could use a little tightening up, okay? That's my main thing, holding it back a bit. But everything else is lovingly made and thought about. Very cool game. And so that's it for me. My name is Zee Garcia. I'll see you on the next one.
Hey everybody, Chris Yee here. This week I took a look at 4 games. The first one is a game called Dexterity Jane, a dexterity game about holding up various amounts of fingers. I'm going to hold up this many fingers. 5. I'm giving it a 5. You flip cards out onto the table and it'll say like, bend in your right hand ring finger, and then you slap it down on the table, or eventually you play 10 rounds of it and up to 10 cards will come out, and so you'll have to bend in various fingers, and you'll have to, if there's 2 of a kind, then you don't bend in that one finger. It can lead to obscene gestures. It's just an odd game. It runs too long. Out of all the groups that I played it with, I'm the one that enjoyed it the most. Everybody else despised it, and I'm still only giving it a 5. So it's just a bit too long. It's one trick, and it is a large cognitive load for what the game is. Next up is a game called Hero Hockey. I gave this game an 8 out of 10, despite the fact that it is kind of cheaply made, and the fact that it is a blatant ripoff of other games in this genre, where you have a table that sits out, basically an air hockey table, and you control a little player on the top by maneuvering a magnet on the bottom of it. And despite the fact that it's a blatant ripoff, it is also really fun, and so this is kind of maybe more of an affordable version of a different game that exists. So Hero Hockey, despite the obvious shortcomings of it, it's just a load of fun. 8 out of 10. Next up is a game called Marshmallow Test. This is a really good introductory trick-taking game. I'm giving it an 8.5 out of 10. I like this one so much. It's a very straightforward trick-taking game. And the idea of it is it's sort of based off of the controversial psychological study about waiting to get more marshmallows. You can eat the marshmallow now or wait longer. And it kind of ties that in because you score points in this game if you hit a certain number of tricks, but you score points based on how many tricks other players at the table have won. This one works really well with kids, and it works as one of the best introductory trick-taking games I've ever seen. And it's just really fun for me, who's played a lot of them. So that's why it gets an 8.5. And then last up, the game Unsettled. Unsettled is a Foursquare review. I gave this one an 8.5 as well. This is a very rewarding and satisfying puzzly, but also thematic cooperative exploration game, survival game, maybe more than exploration. And I think that the nice production really helps it for me. I know it's a pricey game, but there's a lot of things that are really good for ease of setup and teardown, and I think that with all of that together and a satisfying puzzle and cooperative nature of the game, I like it a lot. So go check out those reviews. That's been my week. My name is Chris Yee. Thanks.
Hey there everybody, it's Mike DiLisio, and this week I was a part of 4 reviews. First up, I reviewed the Mariana Trench, which is a micro game based off of a theme where you are submarines delving down into the depths of the ocean. I gave this a 6 out of 10. It's a gorgeous game. It looks beautiful on the table, but I feel like it is very, very heavily luck dependent and maybe a little bit less player agency than I would like. It's a fine game, but I don't know that it does enough to stand out. Don't feel like maybe there's enough decisions to be made in that one. Next up is Rolling Realms, which is a roll and write game from Jamie Stegmaier and Stonemaier Games. I gave that a 7 out of 10. Rolling Realms is a game that kind of takes the parent games, the large games in the Stonemaier Games catalog, things like Charterstone and Scythe and many, many others, Wingspan, and it turns them into little micro games, roll and write style games where you are putting 3 realms together and playing those over a course of a round and then drawing another 3 and then finally a third 3. Does some really cool things. I like the interaction between the realms, but I do wonder if people are going to be interested in this game if they're not interested in the games that they're based upon. Next up was Dinosaur Island, Rawr and Write. I gave this one an 8 out of 10. I feel like this is a really clever implementation of the dinosaur world, island, Dinosaur world, Dinosaur Island, kind of all together in a roll and write type of a game where there's some really nice dice drafting that goes on. It's a bit of a heavyweight when it comes to roll and write games. There's a fair bit going on, but I really do think it's a solid game in this line. And then finally, I was part of a Foursquare review for Unsettled, the new game from Orange Nebula, and I absolutely love it. I gave it a 9 out of 10. This is a game that kind of checks off a bunch of boxes for me. It is a cooperative puzzle game, a space survival game where the idea is you are crash landing on a planet. And the game itself comes with 2 planets in the box, and then you can additionally get another 4 planets. And each of the planets are different themes. So one might be a theme with toxic spores, and the other might be a desert planet that has a storm that you have to deal with. I think this is an ingenious system, kind of this core system that you can plug and play these different planets that all play differently, but using the same core rules. I absolutely adore Unsettled. All right, well, that's it for me this week. Let's keep it moving.
Okay, so for me, the first review for me was Ignite. Ignite, a big Kickstarter game, which mixes deck building with tactical combat, which is not a bad idea. Unfortunately, everything about this game to me seemed like it was a bad idea. I didn't like the deck building part. I didn't like the combat part. I didn't like the rules. I felt like the game was very, very clunky as I played through it. Just not an enjoyable experience for me. We also did a Foursquare review of Unsettled, and you've heard glowing stuff from everyone but me. And I admit that this is a problem with me and not the game. This is just not my style of game. I can look at Unsettled and go, wow, there's a lot of things about this game that I'm impressed with, but it was too difficult. It felt too puzzly for me when I was looking more for exploration. There was just some stuff in it that just didn't jive with me. Thus, I gave it a 5. What Next? Me and the kids reviewed this one together. This is a party-style game that's mixed with Choose Your Own Adventure. I like the concept of it. I think the writing was really well done. The quality is good. But the party games themselves were too difficult for us to really... We kind of missed out on the fun of the game because of that. Or at least for me. It was fine, but it's not one I want to go back to. That's a 6. I took a look at Hanamakoji and the expansions. So talking here just about the little expansions, there's a lot of them, I think 7 of them. I give these a 7, but you don't need all of them. You can buy 1 or 2 of these expansions and you're fine. Lizard Wizard is the follow-up to Raccoon Tycoon. This one's a 7, even though Raccoon Tycoon is close to a 9 for me at this point. I love Raccoon Tycoon's simplicity. Lizard Wizard adds more stuff. And I don't know that the game needed more stuff. It adds a deck that you go through into a dungeon. It adds more complications. It's still a good game, actually, even with all the extra stuff. It's just that I prefer Raccoon Tycoon more. Hammer Time is a game I played with my son. In fact, you can see it live here. You're hitting the side of a box with a hammer, trying to make gems fall off. It works really well. Another hit from Haba for kids, 7 out of 10. Hanamakoji, I already talked about the expansions, the base game for this. I reviewed the new version of it, and really it is a nice version of the game. This is a game that's growing for me. This two-player back and forth game, trying to outthink the other person. 8 out of 10. I took a look at Exit Kidnapped in Fortune City. This mixes an escape room with a whodunit type thing. So it mixes those two genres of games together, and I thought did so in a good way. 8 out of 10. And then Chronicles of Crime 2400. This is my favorite of all the Chronicles of Crime stuff so far. I really like this futuristic vibe. You know, the Blade Runner type aspect in the future. You're jumping in and out of the internet. You are meeting different people and using your Android upgrades on them. I loved it. It was fantastic. 9 out of 10. I also did some games that made me go, meh. I also took a look at a couple more shelves in the Dice Tower library, and a couple other reviews went up. We didn't have as much live stuff this week because we were at the Dice Tower retreat. Everything you saw last week was recorded ahead of time so that you're able to see that sort of thing. But hey, we're back this week, so you're going to get to see some stuff. So tune in for Board Game Breakfast soon. But until then, I'm Tom Vasel, and you've been watching Week in Review on the Dice Tower.